Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. I had a dream last night that I was in a hot tub with Melanie Mack over here, Lily Gaddis in front of me, and Josie the redheaded libertarian over here. And it's one of those dreams where you're like, is this going to go down? Is this going to go down the way I think it is? And no, it's not going to go down that way. It's not only, first of all, it's this. There's no way these chicks are going to triple team me. You know what I'm saying? And most importantly, I would think that the reason why that would never happen is because these are the kind of women I would think morally would never participate in something so grotesque. You know, individually, I could marry any one of these chicks. I think I could fix them all. You know what I'm saying? And so I was in the hot tub and it was boring. It was boring. Listen, you know, because I knew nothing was going to go down. You know, these are somewhat moral women that aren't going to triple team a guy like me in some weird frat boy fantasy. And so, you know, this one's going on about how you don't give up feet pics for free, and this one is all about talking about the gays and using words like that, and this one just won't shut up about the Israelis. It was like, you know, as long as Islam's in the world, I mean, there's higher priority issues here. Anyway, so I'm getting bored of this conversation. I'm getting bored of this hot tub. Why am I even here? And I thought about it while I'm in the dream, and they're all blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, why did my brain construct this fantasy when I wouldn't be able to suspend disbelief if what I expected to happen here actually happened here? And so it's just, why did my brain come up with this? And so I immediately went on to something else. I went to a Superman dream or something like that. It's like, this is boring. I'm out of here. Because these are moral women that wouldn't want to do like immoral things with me. And I'm a moral man, and I don't want to do immoral things. In fact, I think this one is married. All right? I think this one has a boyfriend. This one almost certainly has a boyfriend. All right? And I'm not that kind of guy, even in my dreams. So I peaced out. Anyway, I think it's just my brain saying, here are the 3 hottest women in our brain, categorized by hair color. Okay. Thanks for the useful dream I remember having like every night when I was 19 years old. You know what I'm saying? It's like the best part of getting over 40 is that like these dreams don't come around very often. And when you do, you question them morally. It's like, I couldn't marry you. Anyway, welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. Welcome to the inside of my mind. Like this cavernous space that we're in. We can get rid of them. They're very distracting. I might get more views just because they were on the screen. And that's what's funny is like there's so many like hot females that do like shows so much worse than mine. So much worse than mine. They get way more views just because it's a hot chick. You know? But the problem is I can't talk like some of them because like Lily and Melanie, they say some pretty awful things sometimes if you ask me. And good for them, but I couldn't weather the storm if I said some of the things they said, you know, because they'd shut me down good because I'm a white male. I can't get away with it. And I'm not even good looking. Anyway, welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I want to remind you again, I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. There's one more patron pack left. Get it while you can. All you got to do is become a patron at patreon.com. I'll pack it all up and ship it out to you. Or you can follow me, do Cash App me, and hashtag Shock Monkey Radio, all one word. And you can follow me on social media over here. I could sit there and think, I got my books down below. I got the Zazzle store down below. It's not in the live feed, the links, but you can look at older lives and there's links to the store and the books and stuff like that. Later on tonight, after I work my other job, I'll go through and I'll put tags in, time codes for you. Yeah, I do a lot. I do a lot for this show, and then I'll put all the links in as well. Granted, it's just copy and paste, but I mean some of it I got to do individually for every show anyway. Hey, we had a fun game on that dragon game the other day. Like my favorite part was like you're dealing with this world where there's a dragon uprising. Like dragons start appearing everywhere. People start mutating, and there's dragons and dragon people, and there's fire. There's monsters fighting in the streets. And we had this little segue where like the Trump's on the news going, Well, I don't know what to tell you. We got dragons everywhere. Dragons everywhere. It's like all over the world, And America, they got the best dragons. Everyone knows. Everyone's been telling me America's got the best dragons. China has terrible dragons. They cry rainbows and stuff like it's absurd. Gay. It's gay. So that's the word. It's gay. it was fun. You wouldn't believe the tariffs we're going to put on the Chinese dragons. Yeah. And it was just a lot of fun to make fun of them in this absurd way. It's kind of lighthearted. And I remember we've done that before with other presidents, or Joe Biden would talk about something that happened in our gaming session, and then the mutant animals they came out of the woods, and one of them's dressed like a ninja. He's dressed like a ninja, and he jumped in the helicopter. He jumped in the helicopter, ran around the console. He's flipping switches, like cats. And that sounds like something Joe Biden would talk about. So it's fun, bringing that kind of stuff into your game session. I wanted to bring it up. It made me laugh, and I was thinking about it earlier today, and I was like, that's cute. I'll put it in the notes. I watched a terrible movie. This is not a review. This is how to make G.I. Joe movies better. I watched this horrible unnamed movie, and I guess you figured it out real quick, huh? And I was like, how can I put this? It reminds me of a quote. I think it was Keith Richards who said, life is a shit sandwich. You can't taste the shit if you have enough bread. Bread being a metaphor for money, and or simile to money. But unfortunately, there's not enough bread in the world to take the taste out of this shit sandwich that is this movie. And I watched it, and I was like, everything wrong with it. I don't know if CinemaSins did it. Everything wrong with G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra. But it's I'm thinking back to my days of loving G.I. Joe, not only the cartoon series, because I didn't like that. I didn't like the cartoon series as much as I liked the G.I. Joe comic books. And that's what I thrived on. And so I was like, why immediately start in this modern warfare era, the whole Iraq, Afghanistan, Desert Storm, all that era of modern warfare, and that's where the G.I. Joe team is. Why isn't it something that happens over a period of time in the history of America's wars? Like G.I. Joe, the doll, I think, came out in the 50s. And even that was the Abernathy guy. He had a beard. First, you can't have beards in the military. And so, but so it could have gone back all the way to World War II. General Hawk has experience from World War II. Korea, he was a colonel in Korea or something like that. And you could have stories about that. But the problem is, if you make one G.I. Joe movie and you don't know if you're going to get money for any more, you got to have a movie with Snake Eyes in it. I understand. Then make it 82. All right. After all, the origin of Snake Eyes was he damaged. He got his face mangled in a helicopter crash, and he ended up saving Scarlett's life. That's why he and Scarlett are so close. They didn't really talk about that in the movie. None of that. Because it happened in the Vietnam era. And so when G.I. Joe, the 80s series came out, you had it was basically a bunch of Vietnam vets who were the heroes, the real American heroes of the day. And so why couldn't the original G.I. Joes begin Vietnam War, and then all of a sudden G.I. Joe rises out of that, because you got Snake Eyes, you got Scarlett, you got General Hawk, you got all these experienced soldiers that go all the way to Korea and even the Second World War. You got that experience, and so it takes place post-Vietnam era. And then you start establishing Cobra. And this is the thing irritates me about Cobra. In the comic books, Cobra was started in Springfield, Vermont. I don't know if it's a real place. But Cobra Commander was a used car salesman. All right. And he just made enough money and ended up buying the whole town. All right. And turning it into his little private army. Cobra was a domestic terrorist inside the United States, and that's what G.I. Joe comes to fight, And so G.I. Joe, in the early 80s, starts running into Cobra. That would be the rise of Cobra. Yeah, you have Destro who's supplying arms to them, but at that time he's a minor character. And give the old soldiers the old blue character, helmets and stuff like that. Instead of all these weird body armor, souped up body armor stuff that has no basis in the toys or the comic books or anything like that. I am quite passionate about this. I just realized. You know, and so there's a real lack of like the unique vehicles. Yeah, you got the SR-71 Blackbird and all that stuff, you know, but there was a lack of the vehicles. Yeah, you had like a good cast of characters that you wanted to see, but I mean, in the second movie, you killed Duke. And didn't you realize like doing that in the cartoon series was a bad idea? After all, like 82 to 86 was the golden era of G.I. Joe. In the comic books, in the cartoons, and in the action figures. After like 87, it started getting real weird because people weren't like, we got to make them snake people now. And you're like, what are you... It's getting out of hand. But in like the very first series, they were dressed as soldiers. They were dressed as soldiers, and then they just progressively got weirder and weirder and weirder until you get the sailor with all the buttons undone, and he's got the, like tied in a knot, and it's like, it's real. And I think like Venture Brothers did a great joke about that, where Brock and Hunter are sitting there, and he goes, "This place is going to hell in a ham sandwich since the '86 dress code," because everyone dresses weird in the newer GI Joes. But GI Joes are soldiers. This is like a fantasy soldier thing. They're the best of the best. They're the alphas. You know what I'm saying? It just irritates me. It's like you need like have a longer term plan. You don't need to focus on Snake Eyes so much. I understand you want to do the ninja stuff. You can do some of the ninja stuff, and I think in the second movie they did some good like Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes versus stuff. That was pretty awesome. The second movie is obviously much better. But I really wanted like Cobra Commander to have that reflective mask, and don't tell me you can't film a guy with a reflective mask and like do CGI to like take the studio and the camera and the director out of it. Don't tell me you can't do that. And so, although you can be true to the character's aesthetic, like you did with Snake Eyes, Baroness, and Scarlet, and maybe Duke, Ripcord. No, I thought he was Native American.
They had the coolest names.
They did have the coolest names. That's the point, you know. And then you go and screw it up, and then you have like the Cobra guys that were great were like Storm Shadow and Firefly. Baroness is obviously awesome, and Destro I liked, but I mean it's like the whole mask thing. You didn't have to go in depth about why you wear the mask. It's why do you mask guys got to talk about how cool your mask is? It goes back. No, he's Scottish. It goes back centuries. All my. Every single man in my family was sired by a man wearing this mask. Anyway, this is not a review. Just, you know, you asked the wrong people to make movies like this. You should be making it for people like me.
Who should be making these movies?
Me. I should be making them. I should be making them. There's only one person who could do it well, and that's me. Did you just take a screenshot of me? Now, if I had to put a star rating to this, because of the way you ended it, it's 1 of 13 stars. That's a bad idea, Madman. You should not be in charge of the G.I. Joe series. Okay, fine. You see, I hired and fired myself right there in like 10 seconds.
Fast.
I'm a horrible employee. I want to talk about Cabby Ines for a second. The great Gavin McInnes. I know some of you don't like him. You may not even like Melanie Mack or Lily Gaddis or anything like that. I almost said Lily Tomlin. That's way off base. But I heard this thing that Gavin said once, and it was, if you need to make an important decision, get drunk. Get drunk, and then you'll realize what you really care about, and then you'll be able to make a proper decision. And I don't know if that's true. And what's funny is that Gavin drinks more than me. I drink quite a bit. And so I would think that advice only works like to give it to someone to EK. EK doesn't drink like ever. Like every night, like you'll have like 2 drinks a week, right? Maybe. And so I would say and he's not like the kind of guy who gets drunk, he's like sloppy drunk. And so if EK came to me and said, I need to make a decision, I don't know if I should do this or this, I would say to him that that's good advice. Get drunk. Then you'll start to understand like what you really care about, and then it may help you inform you to make the better decision later when you're sober. Yes, I would say that, but for someone like me, you say, oh, you need to make an important decision? Well, get drunk. I was like, oh, I was going to do that anyway. So I don't think it works on people who already drink a lot. Because if you drink a lot, then you know it's like sometimes you make bad decisions. So I'm really at odds of like how good that advice is. I don't know. making a decision while drunk always a good idea? I don't know. I'm gonna climb that power tower. No, that's a bad decision. Or if you're sitting there thinking sober, I wonder if I should climb that power tower. Try to touch the transformer. Let's get drunk. Start pounding shots. Oh, definitely climb that power tower. See, I don't think it works. I don't think that that's good advice. You know, I know what you're thinking. Madman, why would you think that Gavin McInnes would give good advice? You have a point. You may have a point. Let's do a couple movie reviews. It's actually 3, but we're going to start with the first one, The Watch, a comedy. It's a 2012 movie starring usual suspects of fairly big stars. Jonah Hill, Vince Vaughn, and Ben Stiller. I don't know this guy's name. I think he's a comedian.
Richard Adoye or something?
Richard Adoye. I want to give him proper respect because he was funny. Richard Adoye. You looking him up? Because I'm lost. Adoye.
It's Ayoade. Ayode?
Okay, Ayode? Okay. Sorry, sir, if I got your name wrong. But here's the interesting thing is that when you make a movie in 2012 and it's a guy movie, this movie is a guy movie, believe it or not. Although there's some elements that are very liberal that I don't like. And so one of those elements is that Ben Stiller, he's a manager at this Costco. He's kind of a busybody. He's got all these clubs. He's like the founder of the running club in his town somewhere in Ohio, I forget. And he keeps founding all these clubs and participating in all these things. And there's this one line where he's talking about, I have plenty of my friends who are minorities. I don't have a black friend yet, but I'm open to the idea. And it's like, that's the most racist liberal thinking I've seen in a film. I want to make friends with someone of a certain skin color. That's absurd. You know how I make friends that are black people? I don't care if they're black or not. It's like, if somebody says, I know a guy who may be interested in role-playing, call him up, because it's just me and you here. And they wouldn't say to me, oh, he's black. It's like, I don't care. It's better than just you versus me. We need to get at least 3 to get a good role-playing session going. And so the whole idea, the objective of trying to make a friend just because they're black is, how can you not see that that's racist? Anyway. So that's Ben Stiller's character. And even though I know he's like a liberal guy and stuff like that, he really does care for people around him. Like at the beginning of the movie, in the first act, the security guard at Costco, he ends up getting killed. And so because he's the manager of the Costco, he goes over to, and they show him the body of this guy that he just got a citizenship. He's a hard worker. He's a night watchman. And and he had a nice little what do they call it? A montage at the beginning of showing what he does at his night shift and how much fun it must be. But he ends up getting killed that night by an alien. And so Ben Stiller, the cops show him his body, and Ben Stiller's like, that next scene, Ben Stiller's driving away and he's crying because it's obviously a terrible thing if somebody gets killed. And so he becomes highly motivated and goes to like a local football game. It's like buys a couple of seconds of time so he can talk to the crowd at the high school football game saying, hey, we got somebody that was killed, and like, I want to find his killer. I want to start a neighborhood watch. And there's a couple people in the crowd who like perk up when they hear this. And that is Vince Vaughn's character, who you meet in the first act as well. It's interesting because Vince Vaughn was playing a character that's real gregarious, and he talks loud and often, and he's always interested in having a good time. I know he never really plays a character like that. It was quite challenging for him, I'm sure. And so sarcasm. And so and then you got Jonah Hill playing a creepy guy. Not really new shtick for him, but it's good that he's like dropping weight. I think that's good for him. And so and plus it makes him like, it fits in, if he fit better into this role because he wasn't as large as he has been in the past. And so he's like this guy who wanted to be a cop. Got rejected for numerous reasons, and you could see why. There's obviously some issues with the guy, and but he wanted to get involved in the neighborhood watch. But his motivations are, I want to get into some vigilante stuff. I want to start kicking the crap out of bad guys. Vince Vaughn's character, he just wants to hang out with some guys because his wife's working all the time. He lives with his teenage daughter, and if he just stays at home, he's going to be Facebook stalking his daughter, being, who's that guy you're making out with at the party, and stuff like that. So he just wants bro time. He just wants to hang out, drink beers, and chill with his neighbors, you know. And then you got Jamarcus at the end, and he shows up at the neighborhood watch meeting, and Ben Stiller's just so happy a black guy showed up, and it's so weird. And so but it's chock full of guy humor, and you don't see that often in films these days, because a lot of the humor, like, could, for example, you don't want to take your wife or girlfriend with you to see this. You go to watch this movie with your bros, you know. If you sat there and watched that with your missus, you know, she'll probably want to turn it off halfway through, because there's a lot of grotesque guy jokes in there. I'm not afraid of such things, so I kind of liked it, and it was good to see something in a more modern era where there's this understanding that men need their own space. You know, even when Vince Vaughn's like, hey, let's go to my house, I got a man cave with a pool table and stuff like that. Men need their own space, and you need to allow them to have that space. And so I think that this movie expresses that very well. And then all of a sudden, aliens. And they're fighting this alien threat. They got this alien weapon. And once you have that thing, anyway, once you take over the world with that thing. Anyway. And so I think that this movie could have been a lot better if you just avoided the aliens thing altogether. And it's just these four jackasses going around the neighborhood, like that scene where the kids egged them, and so they caught the one kid and brought him into the police station. Like, there you go, and they tough talked him and stuff like that. But the cops just end up letting the kid go because you egg those guys. That's awesome, you know. That's how the cops react, and that's a normal everyday thing that a neighborhood watch run by doofuses might actually get into. But then the alien thing was this whole other plot. It was like, it's got to involve taking over the whole world. Why is it like every story got to go to the galactic level? You know, it could just be the weird criminal people in your own neighborhood. And I think the movie could have been a lot better if it was just like characters like Billy Crudup's character in this movie, because he accidentally received a Men's Fitness magazine in his mailbox. That was actually Ben Stiller's. And so he notices that's Ben Stiller's address. And so he comes across Ben Stiller and goes, you must be, I forget his name, and you live at so-and-so. And he's just really weird. And it's like, here's Men's Fitness. Not like you need it, though. You know, I mean, you look quite fit. So he's just this weird guy in the neighborhood. And there's a scene later that they're like stalking, like hanging around this guy's house, trying to say, what's going on in there? What's going on? You know, just being a creepy neighborhood watch guys. And they get invited in, and it's weird, but it's human. It's human, and probably something you'd run across if you're part of a neighborhood watch in an affluent neighborhood. Okay? Bunch of swingers. Okay? So if it was just a series of things like that, where it's just them harassing like weird people in their neighborhood, similar to like The Burbs, I think it would have been a lot better movie. So The Watch, 2012, 9 of 13 stars. Little Liberal, 9 of 13 stars. You reading the notes of the show again?
I was.
I was way ahead. I was in the news part. Anyway, I'm just happy that people understand, is like there needs to be spaces for men, exclusively for men. All right, let's go to the next two movies. They're kind of the same movie. I watched The Things. The Thing, and The Thing. I watched The Thing, The Things. Or it's a thing apostrophe S instead of in parentheses. I watched The Thing, the 2011 one first. No, the other one first. The new one with Ravona. She is cute. She was in Scott Pilgrim Saves the World or whatever.
That's where she's.
Yeah, Ravona. She is so cute. It borders on hot, but it doesn't quite cross over. You know what I mean? She's incredibly cute. Anyway, so I watched this one first. This is a 2011 version of The Thing. I guarantee you haven't seen these movies, right, EK?
No.
Yeah,
I know what it's about.
It's not up your alley at all.
But I know the story.
Okay, good. All right, so the 2011 one, I was like, okay, let's see a remake of one of the best movies with the best endings of all time. And so I watched it, and I was like, this, I know I'm probably pissing people off by saying this, but this isn't bad. This really isn't bad. I mean, I was glad that they're able to, like, they kind of up the level of grotesquerie because of the nature of, like, CGI versus practical effects that were available in, like, 1982 and so forth. And because you had CGI available in 2011, the grotesqueries that you saw in the 2011 thing were actually quite, I mean, like, the first 82 movie never was grossed out. I was like, that's friggin' weird, but I was never grossed out. The 2011 one, I was grossed out, effectively. There are points where I was like, ugh, I don't want to look at the screen. It's gross, you know, when two people merge together. It's spoilers. Anyway, so.
The story of this kind of reminds me of the movie with, you know, the Duddits character?
Yeah.
What movie is that?
That's Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcher.
Yeah.
The story of the thing kind of reminds me of Dreamcatcher.
Yeah, kind of. A little bit. Also, it's a different kind of movie. Anyway, you're derailing me. Anyway.
Sorry.
So, and as the movie goes on, the 2011 movie went on, I started to realize, like, that scene looks familiar. The way the set is set up looks familiar. Why does it look familiar? And then at the very end of the movie, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Kate's, there's no steam around her mouth. What's up with that? And I was like, oh, they kind of did it. They kind of did the, what's that called? The ambiguous ending like they did in the first one. And then it cuts to the dog getting loose. Like, you get the title credits directed by it. And then, I forget the guy's name. And then you get the dog running in the snow, and you see the helicopter taking off and chasing it. And then after I watched the 2011 movie, I started up the 1982 movie, and I realized, oh, this leads straight into the beginning of the first movie. So it's actually the same movie, if you think about it. And I thought to myself that if you're going to do a remake, if you're going to do a update, sequel, prequel, whatever, that's what it was. It's a good way to interlace it into the original story so that it fits together. It's like Lego pieces. Make sure they can clink together. And you can have your own story where the female protagonist. After all, I watched the 1982 one after that with Kurt Russell and his glorious 80s coif. You know? And that ending where who's the thing? Who's the thing? That has been baffling people since 1982. Since 1982. And then this 2011 one fits right into it. You know? Like Connects. You remember Connects? Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And I said to myself, if you're going to make a remake, if you're going to make a sequel, do it that way. That way it pays homage to the John Carpenter thing. Because after all, the 1982 John Carpenter The Thing is revolutionary in terms of horror and sci-fi. Because the creatures are terrifying and disgusting. and they're in an isolated situation in Antarctica, limited supplies, limited people, and people start dying, and it's dire. It was very intense. And the new movie, the 2011 movie, captured that as well as interlocking into the original one. So it's all one continuous story. I thought it was done very brilliantly. I think if I had to give a star rating to them, the original 1982 The Thing is 12 of 13 stars. And that's not 13 because gross stuff kind of doesn't do well in film because you got people like EK that can't bear to watch it. So I'd give 1982 The Thing 12 of 13 stars. The 2011 version of The Thing, I give 11 of 13 stars just because you can't match that first one. So let's say 11. Let's just give it an 11 of 13. Is that all right? Since they're like kind of together. We were going to do 11 and a half, but that was way too hard to do. Short notice. All right. Before we get into the news, I want that reminds me, we had a little bit of technical difficulties. If you're watching the show and if you get an alert that the show's coming up and then like it, and then nothing happens and you got to reload the page or something like that in order to get to the show, let us know in the comments. Please don't do it in the live chat. I'm not really watching. Nobody's watching right now anyway, other than me. So if you watch it later, please let us know in the comments if you had any like notifications and didn't let you go to it right away, because I'd hope you'd only get one notification and it takes you right to the beginning of the show. Anyway, we want to get that right for your sake. All right, let's get into the news worth knowing. No, I didn't put. No, I did. Okay. All right, we can skim through this. This tariffs thing. I've listened to Ben Shapiro whine all week about this, and it just shows. It goes to show that I trust Ben Shapiro on many things, but when it comes to his loyalty to this nation, I don't know. I think there's at least one or two things that he holds higher or closer to his heart than the United States, and I think that is his stock portfolio, maybe, and Israel. And so I've been all week. He's been whining about this. So Trump pushes back on rebel Republicans over tariffs. You don't negotiate like I negotiate. I'm the best at negotiating. Everyone says. So
I'm just unclear about the usage of the statistics that he used to get to the percentages.
I agree.
So like exports,
I agree,
minus imports divided by imports gets you a percentage of something, but I don't know if it's appropriate to use for this metric.
No, and then underpants. It's get the underpants. I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about finance or anything. We can skip over what this article is. It's just, you got to get on board. You got to get on my side on this. And here's the thing: is that I don't understand the finances, obviously, and so when somebody says like these people have been ripping us off for years. Even if they're talking about the Department of Government Efficiencies and the agencies that are laying people off, it was like, I don't care. They've been stealing from us. And if you're talking about like these other countries living off of our largesse and they're crying, we got to pay tariffs. We can't have any more free taxpayer dollars from America. Same thing with those departments of the government efficiency things they're cutting. And we're wasting our money, stealing from us, and we're just going to let it keep going because we're scared the market might collapse. Whenever something like this happens, there's going to be a volatile market. And this is what I think Ben Shapiro is so antsy about and why he's been whining for the last week, is that, if you're so concerned about the volatility of the market, maybe you should pull your money out of there. See what I'm saying? Maybe you shouldn't gamble. Of course, you don't want everyone listen to my advice. If you're listening to my financial advice, you need to go to a doctor. Seriously. If you think I'm an authority on this, because listen to what I just said. If you have money in the stock market and you're so scared that it's volatile, take it all out. If everyone did that, what would happen? What would happen? Obviously, don't listen to me. I know enough to know what I just said. How do you people not know I'm fucking with you half the time? How do you not know that? Anyway, so people are like, let's see, Representative Don Bacon from Nebraska is leading a bipartisan bill to block Trump from instituting tariffs and retake that power for Congress. I'm okay with that if they want to try to do that. I don't think that they should. I think you should, like they say, let the man work. Give him some time. He's only been like 2 months in office. Give him some time, And so I think that the issue is that like these people, like Republican lawmakers, like rich people like Ben Shapiro, have their money tied into the market. They're seeing volatility. They're seeing some stocks dropping. And so they're like, oh, my money. Screw your money. Screw these people that are in the government that have been ripping us off, like using the Democrats using these agencies, government agencies, as like slush funds for the corrupt politician natures. Screw those other countries that have been stealing from us in form of like, mathematics, adjusting their currencies and all this other stuff. Screw countries like China. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why you want to be so harsh with Canada. I don't. Yeah, they seem nice. Even if they are a little too liberal and they've been making mistakes for years. Same with England and, other European countries making mistakes for years.
It's our little brother in their first year of college.
Little brother in their first year. Okay. But what I mean is that, yeah, they all turned, oh, I'm Rastafarian now. I was like, okay.
You got it.
It's, but I mean, if these liberal nations, the way that they're like in the EU, Canada, and so forth, if they keep going the way they're going to get overrun by their liberal sensibilities or the beneficiaries of their liberal sensibilities. So, I don't know. I don't know why you need to be so hard on allies like that. I think the idea is that's why Israel stepped forward first and said, yes, we'll make a deal with the United States to go to zero tariffs. That way, it's a free trade agreement. And if the whole world goes like that, then hey, global free trade? But if anything, I think it may segregate economies. And then you'll have like Chinese-friendly economies and U.S.-friendly economies. And that could be interesting. Like I said, I know nothing about finance. I have like $900 to my name. That's if I saw the comic books. All right, let's go to George Stephanopoulos, finally telling the truth. George Stephanopoulos, there are way too many letters for it to be that few syllables. Stephanopoulos described Biden as heartbreaking up close during crucial post-debate interview. Oh, now you say that. You would not believe how many ads of horses I've been getting. You know that the Hero Wars game where it's all these little things? There's one where the guy's like sawing off a horse's foot, and then like a bunch of skeletons come up and eat the horse, and it's like, you're trying really hard to get me to download that app. Yeah, they know I hate horses to the point like let's give him an ad that's tailored straight to him. I'm not doing it. I know what you're up to. Anyway, so ABC News anchor George Stephanopoulos reportedly said his post-debate interview with former President Joe Biden was, quote, heartbreaking up close. Chris Whipple's new book, titled Uncharted, How Trump Beat Biden-Harris in the Odds in the Wildest Campaign in History. That's a long title, bro. Which was released on Tuesday, recounted behind-the-scenes conflicts between members of the Democratic Party and the Biden administration over whether Biden needed to step out of the race after his disastrous debate with then-candidate Donald Trump on June 27th. To staunch the bleeding of Democrats beginning to publicly call for replacing Biden on the ticket, Whipple wrote in how the White House accepted the interview with This Week host on July 5th to reassure the public about the president's candidacy. Whipple described Biden as hoarse, H-O-A-R-S-E, and semi-coherent throughout the interview, and said that Stephanopoulos was equally disappointed. Stephanopoulos questioned the president gently, like a grandson. Whipple wrote, afterwards, when I asked the ABC anchor to by email for his impressions, he replied, it's heartbreaking up close. Fox News Digital reached out to Stephanopoulos' team for a comment, blah, blah, blah. I don't think he could serve 4 more years, Stephanopoulos responded. Okay. It's really elder abuse. I don't like Biden. I don't like the Biden family. I don't like how corrupt they are. But they really abuse the hell out of that man in his old age. He may have been, consenting to it. He may not have minded. But it is awful to, like, force that guy. I mean, pooping your pants at the Vatican. It's not nice. I don't like the guy. But I don't want him to be, like, abused. It's like you see those videos of people in nursing homes and they're getting punched over and over by some Jamaican. And you're like, I don't want that to happen. That guy used to be a Nazi soldier or something like this. I don't care. I don't deserve to be punched in the face. But I think in that particular situation, he wasn't a Nazi soldier, just a white guy. All right. So now the Democrats think it's okay to tell the truth in these things. And then you pick one of the dumbest people. And I really thought Kamala Harris was dumb. And it wasn't until I read stories like this next one where I realized there's a new queen moron, and that's Representative Jasmine Crockett in this next news story. Nothing close to Davy Crockett, my friend. Representative Jasmine Crockett suggests the United States needs illegal immigrants because, quote, we done picking cotton. That's excellent grammar. So, Representative Jasmine Crockett, Democrat from Texas, close ad, a member of the far-left group of progressive lawmakers known as the Squad, told congregants at the historically black church that America needs robust immigration because, quote, we done picking cotton. Crockett, who represents Texas's 30th congressional district, made the remarks during a Connecticut-based Grace Baptist Church 125th anniversary celebration held over the weekend. The comments were part of Crockett's broader attempt to slam the Trump administration for cracking down on illegal immigration. Quote, so I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants. The fact is, none of y'all trying to go and farm right now, she said, garnering sheepish laugh from the few members of the audience. Okay, so I'm lying, Crockett shot back, noticing the awkward silence. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation. Crockett's weekend remarks are just the latest in a line of other questionable comments. Oh, we can talk about those too? Yeah, Hot Wheels. Governor Hot Wheels just talked about Greg Abbott. All right, let's see here. While Crockett attempted to walk back her comments after, this is about the previous comment. Let's see about the fact that you're sitting around like Jim Crow. Okay. This is a quote from Crockett from the Breakfast Club in June. The fact that you're sitting around talking about life was better under Jim Crow, like, is this because you don't understand history, or literally because you married a white woman, and so you think that whitewashed you? The censure resolution against Crockett, introduced March 26th by Representative Randy Weber from Texas, now remains under consideration at the House Committee on Ethics. In comments to Fox News' Sean Hannity last month, Attorney General Pam Bondi added that Crockett needs to tread very carefully, noting that words have consequences. She needs to immediately apologize and denounce her rhetoric. All right, anyway. So here's what she's saying. It's like, we're done picking cotton. What she means is that Americans, she may not be specifically talking about black people. I mean, after all, I think we have machines to harvest them these days. I don't think you actually pick them anymore. I think we have machines that harvest them. You telling me that an American, black, white, doesn't matter, an American is not interested in running a farm? I think there's plenty of, people who want to grow textiles, grow cotton, anything. Pumpkins, beets, whatever. Dwight Schrute. I think there's plenty of people who'd be willing to do that. But assuming that, we need to get illegal immigrants into the country because we're not going to pick cotton, we're the elite. People like me, we need to bring in this slave class of people into the country. We don't need boats. Just let them get here by boats on their own, and then just let them in the border. And that way we, the elites, don't have to pick the cotton. I mean, you're advocating for slavery. You're talking about slavery. You're talking about illegal immigrants being our slaves. What is wrong with you? This woman is so colossally dumb. I am shocked that she hasn't already been censured. I'm shocked that she hasn't already been kicked out of Congress, because she is so incredibly dumb and she doesn't understand the things she's saying. And when you say this stuff like, we are done picking cotton, you think all black people refuse to get involved in the cotton industry because of historical racism? That's absurd. That's absurd to think that. I think about that sometimes. It's like, how much is for this farm? It's like, well, what does the farm deal in? It's like, well, it's a cotton farm. Oh, and I got all the equipment. I'm trying to move out of here, family issues. I'm like, oh, okay. How much is the farm? Well, since you're black, I'll give it to you. What? It's ridiculous to think of it that way. A job is a job. It's not like we're actually... Do you just refuse because of historical significance? Like if we had been growing I don't know, sugar cane, would you not eat sugar? If like the main export of the South was sugar cane, would you refuse to eat sugar? Anyway, she is a moron and people need to kick her out. Anyway, EK's dealing with some barking dog or something. So, Solicitors? Oh, okay. So we're going to go to this next story. Federal judge rules White House's Associated Press ban unconstitutional for viewpoint discrimination. A federal judge made a correct decision. How about that? White House violated the Constitution for barring the Associated Press from Oval Office events, according to the federal judge's ruling on Tuesday. U.S. District Judge Trevor N. McFadden, a Trump appointee, said the White House acted against the First Amendment, which prohibits discrimination based upon viewpoints by blocking the longtime publication's access over its refusal to use the term the Gulf of America. Quote, the government offers no other plausible explanation for its treatment of the AP. The Constitution forbids viewpoint discrimination, even in a non-public forum like the Oval Office. Under the First Amendment, the government opens its doors to some journalists, be it to the Oval Office, the East Room, or elsewhere. It cannot then shut those doors to other journalists because of their viewpoints. The Constitution requires no less. So here's my question. If you already gained access to the White House, all right, and say there's a limited number of people you can fit into this room in the White House, and so you need to start calling the herd about who goes in and who goes out. Who has the right to call the herd? Who makes that call? You know what I'm saying? And so I wonder if the idea is like, oh, we're letting like America First in there, we're letting Daily Wire in there, and AP has been cut out. All right? I don't know if America First has access. You know, letting these other news agencies get access to it, but there's a limited number of people you can fit into the East Room or something like that. So who makes the decision of calling who goes into that room? I would think that would be an executive authority kind of thing. You know, somebody who's there to make that decision. All right. However, a ban, say you can never come back again. I'd rather you just say we're just going to keep calling you out because you're Associated Press and you're crazy liberal. So I don't know. I think there's a point where there's like law and then there's logistics. It's like how many people can we actually fit in the room? Because that's a major factor in this. Anyway, but Trump doesn't have the right to push out like liberal journalists. They have every right to make fun of you. Hell, I make fun of you. I'm on your side. But I make fun of you. You're a funny guy. All right, let's go to these last two news stories just to lighten the mood. Lighten it up. Mike Tyson reveals why he is backing the Congressional Fitness Challenge. First on Fox, schools around the country will soon be able to opt into the Congressional Fitness Challenge, including legendary boxer Mike Tyson's own academy. I'm guessing it's a steady diet of ears. House Concurrent Resolution 20, introduced by Representative Abe Hamada, Republican from Arizona, will create a voluntary program that would allow students who successfully complete the challenge to receive signed certificate from the Speaker of the House, President pro tempore of the Senate, and the student senator and congressman. Worth it. At least give them like a personal pizza. Or like to book it, you know what I'm saying? All right, here's a quote from Mike Tyson. Listen, we need to be in shape, man. This is a perfect guy for this job. He told Fox News Digital in an interview. We can't physically get into the Army. We can't? Speak for yourself, Mike. Iron Mike. We're too old, bud. Sorry. Well, we can't physically get into the Army because we're out of shape. I think he means America collectively. And that's embarrassing. Yes, it is. So it comes across we're the most heaviest people in the planet. We're the fattest people in the world. In world? Americans. We're the fattest people in world. Americans. Is this an accurate quote? He continued. Specifically, Tyson noted 77% of Americans aged 17 to 24 would need a waiver in order to serve in the military, according to the Department of Defense. It's just mental. It's just a shame, but it can't be helped, he said of the issue. Yeah, this is the right guy for the job. It would apply to students K through 12, public and private schools, groups that provide testing to homeschoolers, and members of Congress who hold a community-based event for the challenge, the current text states. According to the resolution, the benchmarks would be inspired by historical lines for the presidential physical fitness test, which was popularized under Eisenhower, Kennedy and Johnson administrations in the 60s. So we got to make sure that we're physically fit. Now is the perfect time to be instituting this once again, because we understand President Trump, through his cabinet picks and through what his campaign promises have been with the America First agenda, where he wants to make America healthy again, Hamada said. Test itself would entail a mile-long run or walk, pull-ups, flex arm hang. I still can't do a pull-up. Curl-ups, sit-ups, shuttle runs, and what are shuttle runs? Sit and reach. Shuttle runs. I guess it's like back and forth. Those perform well will be divided up into gold, silver, and bronze level, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I think it's good that, so I guess like Brett Favre and some other smarter athletes. Because, but I mean, if Tyson gets people out there, if Brett Favre gets people out there, that's what I mean. I think you should get younger athletes to do this kind of stuff if you want younger kids to get more fit, get more interested in being fit. Plus, I think you need fun games. It's like, when I was a kid, the reason I was fit is because I was playing sandlot baseball all summer long, every summer. Baseball, all summer long. You know, riding my bike everywhere. You know, swimming in the lake. I didn't have one of these, you know. I didn't have all of human knowledge on a phone. I went out and caught fish. Went out and played baseball. I don't know. I think we need more baseball, more sandlot baseball. That's what we need. All right, let's talk about this goofy story and then we're out of here. Florida man accused of stealing a Cybertruck during test drive. Returned to Tesla dealership days later. Oh, you said 30 minutes.
I don't want this anymore.
I stole it, and I regretted it every second since. So a Florida man is accused of stealing a Cybertruck. Yeah, it's like he was like, 30 minutes. I thought you meant 30 days. Florida man is accused of stealing a Cybertruck during a test drive last month, then returning to the dealership at a later date to retrieve his belongings, according to Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. That's in Tampa. Dexter Smithen allegedly, that's a pretty good name, allegedly went to a Tesla dealership in Tampa on March 26th to test drive a Cybertruck Cyberbeast after meeting with a salesperson, according to a criminal affidavit seen by Fox 13 Tampa Bay. Smithen gave the sales associate his driver's license, which was confirmed to be his, and signed a test drive agreement to return the truck to the dealership within 30 minutes of leaving, which he did not do, the document said. Attempts to reach Smithen through the number he wrote on the test drive agreement were unsuccessful. The sales associate also emailed Smithen demanding to return the return of the Cybertruck. A different sales associate used geolocation tracking to locate the truck on March 31st and told deputies that Smithen drove it to a Home Depot, parked and went inside the store, the affidavit said. It just doesn't have the trunk space I thought it had, you know. I was hoping it'd have more trunk space. The salesperson took a cell phone video of Smithen walking into the parking lot before recovering the Cybertruck and reporting the crime to HCSO, that's Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Smithen returned to the Tesla dealership on Tuesday to retrieve some of the items that he left in the Cybertruck, according to the affidavit. He was arrested at the business, and while he was being searched, deputies said he found 5 different credit cards with 5 different names. Jeez. Smithen has been charged with grand theft of more than $100,000 and unlawful possession of personal identification. So he also had fake ID on him. So when you give your real ID, and you're...
Genius.
That's all you want? My ID for this? I'll trade. I'll just go to the DMV. I'll drive here to the DMV and get another one. What happened? It was like, I traded my old ID for Cybertruck.
Wait, that's not what was happening here?
That's what I understood the deal was. Anyway. This is going to be the end of the show. I want to remind you again, go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I'd appreciate that very much. You can also send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. Follow me on social media. On Twitter's DNALETSAW. And on, Instagram. That's HellRobbins13. This has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.